the preference for my parents would have been for me to be president of the French Republic, but that was a very distant goal. But there was ambition in me, and there was also interest for math and physics. So it was a mix. Then I worked as an engineer, and I discovered that that was not my cup of tea because I was more interested in the fundamental aspects. And around that time, I had kind of fulfilled all the prerequisites for happiness according to society, according to my parents. And I was in fact miserable. So at that point, I came across a book by Krishnamurti, an Indian philosopher, and that was a life-changing event for me. I become fully interested in Eastern philosophies, Zen Buddhism, Advaita Vedanta, etc. And by the same token, I lost all ambition, professional ambition, because I had understood that at that point that the path to happiness that had been prescribed for me was a bridge to nowhere. And so there was a big change in my life at that moment. And about 2 years thereafter, I met the one who was to be my spiritual teacher in this direction. His name was Jean Klein, an old gentleman who, after the war where he had fought the Nazis, went to India on a spiritual quest, met his teacher there, and this gentleman became my teacher.
Okay. I want to find out more about the length of time you spent with him, but just a quick question on ambition. What is your view on ambition now? Not just for yourself, for other people, because it's generally seen as a very admirable trait in Western culture.
Yes. Because in fact, what we all seek is happiness. So to be a celebrity, to be loved by others, to be powerful, to be rich, are not really sought for the sake of being powerful, wealthy, famous, but as a means towards happiness. And the sad discovery is that we all have to make at some point is that these recipes don't work. So many celebrities are miserable, die of drug addiction. So powerful heads of states, cabinet members, politicians are also miserable. Actually, in my life, in my professional life, I've had the opportunity to look closely at politicians who became prime minister in France or had been prime minister, ministers. They weren't happy. So instead of aiming for happiness indirectly via power, money, fame, etc., why not try to find the place of happiness, understand happiness, and aim directly for it?
Hmm. Because happiness can only be revealed, it cannot be acquired. Is that fair?
Yes, it can be revealed, but it can be understood. And what can be understood is what it is that doesn't deliver happiness. And that, because we believe that objects or events that we desire, if we acquire them or if they happen, will make us happy. But if we closely investigate what happens upon the acquisition, for instance, of a long desired object, instantaneously the desire disappears, vanishes. So, and that's when we experience happiness. So, really, experientially, happiness is the experience of the desireless state. Because pretty soon thereafter, a new fear, a new desire comes up, and happiness disappears, vanishes again. So, through the acquisition of objects or the actualization of events, we can only uh, get fleeting moments of happiness. And there is a very heavy price to pay for these acquisitions, a lot of toiling.
Yeah. I was interviewed recently on a podcast, and I'm reminded of a comment that the interviewer said. We were talking about this subject in a roundabout kind of way. And he spoke about, he's a football fan, and he said his favorite moment was in that split second when a player from his team had kicked the ball and you knew it was going in the goal, but it hadn't yet gone in the goal. And I said to him, okay, well, that's the difference. In that moment, as you said, you're not seeking your being. There's no becoming. There's no, a goal to acquire. And yet, most people, 99% of people, don't recognize this. In fact, they go the other way, don't they? Of, oh, okay, perhaps I just don't have enough. And that's why we see more and more accumulation and more power and more wealth and resultingly more inequality, all those kinds of things. Why do you think people miss what you're talking about so readily?
A lack of understanding. They, they keep repeating the same mistakes, in spite of the fact that they have the experience that it doesn't make them happy. Take wealth. I mean, someone has $100 million in their portfolio, and they are not happy. They believe that having 200 million will make them finally happy. Then they get 200 million, then it's 400, and then the sky is the limit. Why didn't they get it the first time? They will never, during the last of their life, eat enough food in 3-star Michelin restaurants to exhaust their $100 million. So when they are
Yeah,
dead,
funny.
what's the point?